Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Sipping Tea with Nat and Z. I'm Nat.
And I'm Z. Hello, hello.
Hola,
Good
¿cómo
morning.
estás? Buenos dias. All of that.
Yes, all of that. We are probably going to not speed through, but this is probably going to be one of the more
Up
shorter.
tempo.
Well, yeah, because we always say that, but then it's always
Yeah,
longer when we
than it
say it's going
actually
to be
is.
shorter.
Basically,
But we
yes.
have, yes, but we have things to do today.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and we're doing these things together. And so, because
That
of
is
that,
correct.
we have to keep ourselves on time and
Yes.
on target.
'Cause I got to
So,
go grocery shopping before we go get together.
oh well, yeah. Then let's get into it. Then let's get into
My
it.
son needs some food in the house.
Then let's get into it. So today's episode is called "Is it me or is it hot in here?"
Ooh, yes.
We're
Mm.
not talking about the Nelly song. No, no,
Nope.
no.
I'm so hot. I want to take my clothes off, which is true for what it is we're about to talk about, but not in that way.
Yes, it's episode that we have dedicated to the journey in perimenopause and menopause.
Sucks. Do not recommend.
0 out of 5 stars.
0 out of 5 stars. 0 out of 5 stars. Yes.
So before we even jump into that, let's get into some hot tea.
Mm-hmm.
um, so this is probably going to be my favorite hot tea since we've done this.
Hot
Okay.
tea.
And it's because I love rat beefs. Like I am a connoisseur of rat beefs.
She really
I
is,
en-
y'all.
I enjoy them thoroughly. And I
She's
really
so
didn't think that
prideful.
we would ever reach a Jay-Z Nas level of rat beef. And I was wrong.
And I was wrong. I've been proven wrong.
I was wrong. So, if you have been living under a rock, if you've been out of the country, if you've just woken up out of a coma, the
Or
girls are
you're me
fighting.
who wasn't paying attention to anything other than
Well,
reading the
that
recent
too.
posts to say that there's a beef. You wouldn't know.
Well, the girls are fighting. And it's not even the girls anymore. It's really a legitimate beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar.
Wow.
And let me just give you a little history. I'm going to try to wrap this up as quickly as possible because it's a lot. So, of course, Drake came out before Kendrick. And then when Kendrick hit the scene, Drake put him on tour with him as like an opening act. And for some people, they feel like once I do that, then there's a level of respect that you should show me. And okay, fair point. So Kendrick comes out with this song called Control. Now, if you are a hip hop connoisseur, a lot of people who come on the scene, who are new on the scene, they challenge who's ever at top. That's what you do. And it's friendly. It's never personal. It's like, I'm letting y'all know I'm coming for all of y'all. I'm here and don't get too comfortable with being at the top because I'm coming for you. And like I said, most rappers, I would say 99%, be like, okay, I see you. I see you doing your thing. Well, we're going to keep it friendly. Not Drake. He took it personally.
Not
And
Drake.
so,
He was in his feelings.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so for about a decade now, he's been throwing shots, little jabs, indirect subs at Kendrick Lamar. And this is how I'm going to tie this all in to what we talk about here on this podcast. You do not need, we've talked about this before, you don't have to show up to every party that you're invited to.
Hello.
Okay. There are times where people will invite you somewhere and you should just stay your ass at home. Drake should have just stayed his
Amen.
ass at home.
Amen. Amen.
Okay. So there was a song that came out, first person shooter. On that song is J. Cole and Drake. Apparently, Drake had asked Kendrick to be featured on it too. And if you listen to the song, you can kind of tell how it should have been all three of them. But Kendrick was like, really? Like you reaching out to me for a feature? We still got beef. Like not beef. There's some things you and I need to talk about before I ever jump on a feature with you. Nah, I'm good. So then Drake got into his feelings, subtweeted and he started again with the little jabs. So Kendrick was like, cool. You want to keep taking shots at me? Let me just let you know I hear you and it's not above me at this It's not. I'm not there
It's
yet,
not
but it's
above
about to
me
be
now.
above me. It's about to be above me, but it's not.
Ah,
So Future and a producer by the name of Metro Boomin came out with an album called We Don't Trust You. And the whole album is about how they really the title of it is how they don't trust Drake. And Future and Drake were friends and they had a falling out. And it was confirmed by Drake in one of the songs that it was over a woman, which I suspected because when men fall out,
what?
typically it's going to be about two things, money or women. And so
Wow.
it was about a woman. And there's a song on the album called Like That. Now I don't know why Metro Boomin and Drake have fallen out, but um I don't know Metro Booming enough to know anything about his business. But
Mhm.
there's a song on the album called Like That. And the first half of the song is Future, but the second half of the song is Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar took slight jabs, like a pluck to the forehead, to
Mhm.
both J. Cole and then to
Drake.
Drake. But more specifically Drake, right? J. Cole just caught a stray because J. Cole and Kendrick are friends and he should know better. It's like you know I don't deal with this dude. Don't even mention my name in the same context as him. Okay,
Mm.
that was where you fucked up.
Mhm.
So then Drake was like, "Oh, so y'all all teaming up against me? Okay,
Oh.
cool." Because even after that song came out, it was other people that came out that started like coming at Drake, like Rick Ross. Um,
Why is
and
everybody
I'm
coming
trying
for
to think.
Drake?
He's done something. He's done something to people, and I guess they're just tired of it.
Oh.
so, um, and he's fallen out with a lot of people. Like The Weeknd, he was the artist who introduced us to The Weeknd. He's fallen out with The Weeknd. Like he's fallen
What?
out, and for most part, the people that he's fallen out with have been over women. Like he fell out with The Weeknd over Selena Gomez.
Seriously?
So yeah, because Weeknd was dating her, and then as soon as
Yeah.
they broke up, Drake started trying to get at her.
Oh.
There's no guy code with him, no bro code.
Oh, he's
So
violated the bro code.
right. So fast forward, Drake comes out with a song called Push Ups. And Push Ups, he disses Kendrick, he disses Rick Ross, he disses Metro Boomin, he disses uh well, he doesn't really come at Future too much, but he's just basically coming at everybody. And I'll say in the midst of this, J. Cole, came out with the diss record against Kendrick. And then like 2 minutes later
Hmm.
came around and said, you know what? That that don't sit right with me.
Oh,
Like,
that's what that's was apologizing for saying
right.
something about. Okay, I did see that. I did see that comment
Yes. So he
somewhere.
apologized
Right,
to
Kendrick.
Kendrick
Mm-hmm.
for even going there. And people were calling him soft for doing that. But
Really?
please keep this in mind because this part is going to be important for when I get to the real drama. So he put push-ups up. And he's just saying Kendrick is short. He's 7 feet. I mean, he wears a size 7 shoe. He's just coming at him with his physical attributes. And then he says, "Oh, well, you don't make a lot as much money as me." Da 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 da. Okay.
Oh Lord.
So everybody's like, "Ooh, Drake." Then he comes out again with a song called Tailor Made, where he uses AI to diss Kendrick using Tupac with AI and Snoop. Okay. So
Oh,
he does these songs back to back. And I don't know why he did that because Kendrick comes out with a song called Euphoria. Now, Euphoria is also a play on, there's a show called Euphoria that's
mm-hmm.
about hypersexualized teens
Mm-hmm.
um, that Drake executive produces. It is important that you understand that I said Euphoria is a show about hypersexualized teens, okay? Because that's going to be important in
Mm-hmm.
about a couple minutes. So we go and listen to the song Euphoria, and it starts off really slow, right? And you're like, okay, this is Teddy Pendergrass song. And for 6 minutes and 36 seconds, I believe, Kendrick just assaults Drake. I mean, it is just like, okay, now we got beef. He said that you're a terrible father.
Oh,
He calls him a terrible father. He tells
oh,
him how much he hates Drake. He hates the way he walks. He hates the way he talks. He hates the
oh
way he looks.
my!
But the
His
song is
whole
basically
essence.
Basically, it's about his constitution. I don't like who you are. You cosplay in Black American culture. You make people think that you're really tough when you are not. You are a Canadian who grew up in a Jewish community who was fully immersed in your Jewish faith until you came to America to be a rapper. Like let's be clear with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he just is like, I love you. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't have hate in my heart for you specifically. I just hate how you stand and what you stand for. And, let's just keep this friendly. It ain't
Mm-hmm.
really nothing. I like seeing you succeed. I'm over here being blessed. So let's just keep it above board. And then Kendrick tells him, if you take it there, this is one of the last lines. If you take it there, I will take it further. And
Mm.
that is something that you don't want to do. And he told him, if you tell lies about me, I am going to tell truths about you. So he warned Drake. And he
Mm-mm.
also told Drake, I know everything you're going to say about me before you even say it. So don't even waste your time. Let this just be a warning to leave me alone.
Mm.
What do you think Drake did? You think he left that man alone?
Of course not.
Mm-mm. Now, before Drake even got to respond, Kendrick, in the song, he says, he tells him, back to back, because Drake had a song called Back to Back when he was beefing with Meek
Right.
Mills. So he put out a diss song and then put out Back to Back. Like literally, I'm just going to keep dissing you back to back. Kendrick
Wow.
said, Back to Back, I like that record. I'm going to get back to that for the record. He did, because right after he dropped Euphoria, he dropped a song called 616, which was okay.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't like wowed by it, right?
Right.
But the Twitter bots, Twitter was in a storm. And I'll say this, I usually stay on Threads, but I came back to Twitter because I knew Black Twitter was going to be resurrected for this beef specifically. And
Not
I was not
resurrected.
wrong. And I was
Not
not wrong.
resurrected.
So people were like, oh, Kendrick, it's tied. Some people were saying it was tied. Some people were saying Drake won. If you're a true hip hop head, you would say it's pretty much, at that point, it was pretty much even, right?
Point for point.
Point for point. And then Drake comes out with a song called Push Ups. Oh, why did he do this? Why did he do this? So I listened to the song and I said, oh, wow, we're going there. He starts talking about Drake's family. He starts saying that he beats on his fiance. He
Oh,
says that the son that he has is not his.
oh,
He tells he tells Kendrick that, you are a fake messiah, Black messiah. And then he
oh
says
my.
something that a lot of people have taken a lot of issue with, which he says, you rap like you're trying to free slaves. This
Oh,
is important to understand because
oh my.
uh, uh,
Coming for your neck right there.
yes, this is important to understand because Kendrick is basically saying you're not even really you put Black culture on like it's a costume. You're not really of the
Ah,
culture.
you're
And so,
adorning yourself because it helps
yes,
you put you in a space to
it
make
gives
more
you
money.
and more money and gives you cred. So to turn
Right.
around and then say you are rapping like you were trying to free slaves, dude, you should not have said that. That is that is the worst thing you could have said. So he just basically is just saying those are the things he's saying, that you beat on your girl, you try to come off
Wow.
like you for women, you're not. Your son's not yours because your girl slept with somebody else. Um, and he has a transgender family member
Mhm.
who was a man who turned into a woman.
Mhm.
And Drake said something very transphobic, in my opinion, on there about Kendrick's family
Mm.
member. And Kendrick made a whole song. If you listen to his last album, Mr. Morale, um, he talks about the fact that this was something that he struggled with, like how is my uncle now my aunt, and how he had to come through his own
Right. Very
transphobia to kind of be
correct.
accepting of her.
His process with that.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So we're talking about family now, when you shouldn't have done that.
That's a line step on.
Right. So he drops it and then says, I'm done. I'm going on vacation. Y'all just,
Handle that.
I killed all y'all. This is what he says.
Right.
He drops that song at like 11:30. By 11:50, and the song is called Family Matters, by the way. By 11:50, Kendrick already had a response.
Oh wow.
And the song was called Meet the Grams. Okay. So Drake's song is called Family Matters. Kendrick's song is called Meet the Grams. Now, again, I'm telling you, Kendrick has been very specific about how he comes at Drake and how he came at Drake. It was just about Drake. It's just about your constitution. I'm not talking about your family. I'm not talking about anybody. I'm talking about you specifically and how you operate within these spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Drake has been talking about Kendrick, but he's also been in the song Family Matters. He dedicates like half of the song to Kendrick, or I'll say 75% of the song to Kendrick, and then 25% he comes back at ASAP Rocky. That was the other person I forgot
Oh
about.
Lord, how many
ASAP
people he done
Rocky,
fell out with?
everybody. He's mad at ASAP Rocky for Rihanna, but that's a conversation in and of itself. He's mad
Oh
at
Lord.
ASAP Rocky. He's mad at Rick Ross. He comes at Rick Ross. He comes at Future, in which he says it is over a woman. He talks about Metro Boomin, and all this other stuff. And he talks about how Kendrick really isn't affiliated because, affiliated with a gang because, LA, Oakland, Compton, all of that,
Mm.
Bloods, Crips, whatever. And
Oh,
Kendrick
got
told
that
me,
part.
I know, I can predict, I know everything you're about to do, everything you're about to say. There's nothing you can tell me. You get surgery, you got a BBL, like I know everything about you. So
A BBL.
yes. So Drake steps away, and then Kendrick comes out with Meet the Grams. And the cover art for Meet the Grams is all of the pills that apparently Drake pops, a prescription
Oh.
for Ozempic that's in Drake's name. And it's Drake stuff because apparently somebody had stole his dad's suitcase,
Uh-huh.
and all of Drake's stuff was in his
His dad
dad's
stuff.
suitcase. So he has all this stuff and he puts it up as cover art. And Meet the Grams is probably one of the most disrespectful songs I have ever heard in my entire life. And I am not
Oh
lying.
wow.
He starts off saying Dear Adonis, which is Drake's son's name, and basically said, I'm sorry that your father is trash and
Oh,
that you have to have a father who is a degenerate and a pedophile and a sex trafficker.
oh,
And then
oh
tells his
damn.
mother, yes, then goes to his mother and says, Sandy, I think that's his mother's name, you need to sit down because I got to tell you about your son. He traffics women. He's a pedophile. He has sex offenders on his payroll. He got your grandson around him. I wish he was dead.
Oh,
Then he tells his father, I wish you would have wore a condom when you was having sex with his mother because you raised such a disgusting,
oh,
terrible human being.
oh my
Like,
gosh.
yes, your son is a pill popper. He's addicted to drugs. He's addicted to gambling. He uses young girls as his plaything. Um, and
Wow.
that's why I say remember Euphoria. Because there has always been this rumor that Drake has like young girls, and not even a rumor, like the little girl from what is that show that I watch? Stranger Things, Millie
Uh-huh.
Bobby Brown. He was texting her at 14. And she's like, yeah, I text Drake, he always asks me this and this and this and that. And I'm like, a 14-year-old? So he's always had this thing attached to him of liking young women. So, and then to hear, which is true, you can look it up, people on his payroll have had sex trafficking charges brought against them.
Uh,
So,
my goodness. This is
and nobody even got to enjoy Drake's
wow.
song because Kendrick came out so quick and then said, oh, and by the way, I know you have a daughter that you're hiding, and she's 11
Oh,
years old. And let me talk to her for a second to let her know that your dad is a piece of shit and it's going to be okay because you'll be loved even if he's not in your life. And so
wow.
everybody was like, okay. So, but then, people are with Drake and it's like, oh, he took it too low. And, da, 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 da. And then people's like, well, it doesn't matter because when this is all said and done, Drake's songs are going to be played in the club because Drake's beats are club worthy beats. And that's what's going to matter because that's replay value. And you're going to be replaying it because you're going to hear it in the club. And so it's going to have a bigger impact. So Kendrick said, okay, yeah. Remember, I said back to back. I like that. And I was going to come back to that. I'm going to drop another song
Oh,
and I'm going to dish
oh.
you some more. And not
Wait,
only am I
let
going
me
to
be
dish
right
you,
back.
yes,
I wasn't done.
yes. And not only am I going to dish you, I'm going to do it over a catchy beat. I was in there trying to crip walk. I was like,
Did a diss track.
when you can crip walk to a diss track, you know it's over. It
Oh,
is
snap.
over. You understand what I'm saying? It is over. I have thoroughly enjoyed this beef, and I've enjoyed it because nobody has really like Drake has had a nice run. And the only person that ever showed a chink in his armor was Pusha T. But even that, like Pusha T didn't have enough where he could really battle Drake.
Okay.
Kendrick can destroy Drake, and he has. I don't think Drake should come back. I think Drake should just go. If he's on an island, just stay at the island. Just don't even
Oh.
respond anymore. You've lost, and you've lost it bad because you don't. And what I know, and this is something that you can easily find out. Drake pays people for information, so he goes to find people to get
Oh.
information about you. But Kendrick lives such a low key life. You at this
Yeah,
point
you
you're
don't know
making
what
it up
he's
stuff.
up to.
No. Now, I've never heard of the domestic violence allegations against Kendrick. And again, if it's true, it's unfortunate. I've
Uh-huh.
never heard them, but I've heard a lot of these underlying issues with Drake. And I heard at one point that the reason why Diddy and him were beefing was because of the sex trafficking thing. I don't know, but I'm
Oh.
just saying because Diddy smacked him up at a club
Really?
some years ago.
What in the world? What the
Yeah.
did he
So
so he there must be some karma here that's coming back for Drake's ass
well,
because that just
Cat Williams told y'all at the beginning of 2024, this is the year of the truth, baby.
yeah, it is. It is the year of
And
the
it is
truth.
definitely the year of the
It
truth.
is.
So I was saying,
Wow.
for me, I've always enjoyed Kendrick more than Drake. I stopped listening to Drake after a third album. And I stopped listening to Drake because I realized how much of a misogynist he is. And I realized that he is a culture vulture. Like, I know people think like you can't be a culture vulture if you're black, but you can't. There are ways that you can do that. And he
Yeah.
definitely puts on black American culture like it's a costume. And
Mm.
the fact that somebody clocked it and is in a league where they can actually destroy him, like Kendrick Lamar is a Pulitzer Prize winner off of
Yeah,
lyrics. Okay,
he
you're
is.
not getting past this.
He's probably not gonna perform at the Kennedy Center, is he?
No,
Ooh, not like
Drake,
Kendrick and Nas.
no. Um, And I am, like I said, I hope this stays on wax. I hope it doesn't come and spill out into the streets. I don't think that it would, but I have not been this thoroughly entertained. And Kendrick Lamar won by far. If you are a true hip hop fan, there's no way you can tell me that Drake won. Drake had some stuff, but after a while, it's like you're just saying the same thing. He's short. You're talking about his woman and his son, but
Mhm.
he's talking about you, your character,
Mm.
who you are as a person. He even told in this last song, like, listen, I clocked you. You go to Atlanta for cred. You and then once you get it, you stop dealing with those people. You use Little Baby, you use
Oh.
Two Chains, you use Quavo, you used Young Thug. You use these people, 21 Savage, and then as soon as you
'Cause
get
he
what you
always has
need,
people on his tracks for him
yeah.
to get where he needs to go.
hmm
Mm. He
So
takes collaboration to another level.
he does. And I'll just say this, this is definitely a battle where Kendrick has said some things that I will forever repeat. There's this one line he says, "What is it, the braids?" And I have found myself yelling that out randomly during the day. What is it, the braids? Oh god. I am
Wow.
thoroughly I and I'll tell you, if you want to follow this beef, um, I can definitely tell you how to start, where to start. If you can find Control, I would say find Control first because that's the
Oh my
Kendrick
gosh.
song. They don't really stream it, so you might find it on YouTube. So you would listen to Control and then listen to First Person Shooter and then listen to Like That. Then listen to Push Ups and Tailor Made. Then listen to Euphoria 616, and then listen to
I
Family
think you
Matters.
should have,
And
like, a whole roadmap of the
I
beef.
should. Then Meet
Mhm.
the Grams, and then this latest song, which is Not Like Us. So,
Wow.
and here's the thing: I've been looking on Twitter.
This is fascinating to me.
Canada, like there are people in Toronto right now, like people from Toronto are dealing with Drake, but there are people who are not in Toronto. It's like we don't claim him. He's from Toronto. The rest of Canada's like, no, he let y'all deal with that. Like, I don't want nothing to do with that. So that is the hot tea. You can go to Twitter or Threads, or I wouldn't go to Instagram because Instagram is very Drake driven. I would say if you want to really get into discourse where people are actually having conversations that matter, Threads and Twitter. Still got to sort through it, but it's entertaining if you are a hip hop aficionado, if you really understand rap beats and rap battles, if you were
Right.
around during LL Cool J and Kool Moe Dee and um LL Cool J and Cannabis and uh
Oh, can
Jay-Z
I
and
bust?
Nas and Jay-Z and Mob
Can
Deep and
I
50 Cents and
bust?
Ja Rule. Like if you've been around during this time, then you will thoroughly enjoy the conversations that are being held around this particular rap beef. But with that being said, we're going to take a quick break and come back to talk about the topic of the day. And we are back. So, today's topic, like I said, is it me or is it hot in here? We're going to delve into all things about perimenopause and
Mm,
menopause.
mm,
So, as we get older, whether you're a man or a woman, we're confronted with similar problems, back aches,
mm.
knee aches, this
Knees.
fall. You don't
Hip
know
out
where
of
this
socket.
pain came from.
Woke up
Exactly.
yesterday. I was in bed all day because my back was hurting, and all I did night before was go outside in some heels.
So
That's
there
it.
you go, right? We deal with a lot of things, right? Like weight gain and memory loss. Some of us
Mm,
deal with insomnia, and then
yes.
like other serious, more serious issues like heart disease. Men can pin these troubles on the passage of time, right? So they can be like, well, this is because
Mhm.
I'm getting older. I'm 50, I'm 55. Yeah, I can't go out and hooping with the 30-year-olds at 65 like I used to. But for us, some of the physical um and hormonal changes that we are going to can actually be pinpointed to a specific thing. And
Mhm.
usually it is menopause. But before we get there, let's talk about perimenopause because this is something that I just recently fully learned about. Like I just knew about menopause.
Mhm.
Perimenopause was something that I don't think a lot of people ever really talked about, right? Because
It's a whole
menopause
other
is one of those,
animal.
yes, because
It
menopause is
really
one of
is.
those things that it was always hush hush. Like, oh, she's going
Yes.
through the change. She's
Mm.
going through the change, the
I'm about to
change,
become a
the change.
menopause educator just because of that.
Yeah, because there's like been a stigma around it, and it really
Yeah.
shouldn't be. Um, so let's just talk about the perimenopause, the transition from perimenopause to menopause. So in the early stage of perimenopause, sometimes it can begin when women are in their 30s,
Mhm.
but it generally starts when women are between the ages of 40 to 44. So if you're
Mine
listening right
started in
now,
their late 30s. Mine started in mid-30s, late 30s.
okay.
Yeah.
See? So for you, you are one of those women that it actually started a little earlier. If you're
Mhm.
listening now and you're between the ages of 40 to 45, this part of the the conversation probably is going to pertain to you
Right.
a lot, especially if you are not in menopause. If you have started to notice changes in your menstrual flow or in the length of your cycle,
Mhm.
there's probably a sudden surge of estrogen or something going on hormonally that is starting to get your body ready for the actual menopause phase of this entire thing.
Yeah.
So the late stages of perimenopause can occur when a woman is in her late 40s, early 50s. And then in the late stages, of this transition, women begin missing periods until they finally stop. Okay. And
Mhm.
so then about 6 months after, your period stops and before menopause, well, I'll say 6 months before menopause fully kicks in, your estrogen levels will drop significantly. So if you're
Mhm.
trying to determine whether this is something that is actually going on with you, you can get tested. You can get your levels tested to see where
Right.
you are on the spectrum of things, right?
Mhm.
So usually when we have a fall in our estrogen, these things can trigger symptoms of, you know, not to get all into it, but vaginal dryness,
Mhm.
hot flashes, your libido can drop, right? And this can last from a half a year to more than 5 years
Mm. That
after
part.
the onset of menopause. So we're
Yep.
talking you can be experiencing these things from perimenopause to 5 years after menopause has already
Mhm. And some
begun.
people have it longer. I've met ladies that it's still going, and they're well into their 60s plus.
Mm-mm.
And I'm
Jesus be offense because
girl,
I'm
you
not.
ain't never know.
Mm-mm.
Mm.
Um, So during perimenopause, you can experience symptoms that you associate with menopause, like hot flashes, poor sleep, night sweats, moodiness, weight gain, poor libido, the vaginal dryness, like we talked about, forgetfulness, and poor concentration. Sometimes your periods can be irregular. Sometimes they can be heavier than normal. Sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
may skip a month or two,
Or you
but you
may
have to
just be
go.
spotting.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to go a full 12 months. This is something we need to understand. You have to go a full 12 months without a cycle before you have, and then reach perimenopause. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, reach menopause. So you have to go full 12 months before we can say, okay, this is menopause. So let's say you went 6 months and then you got your cycle. Baby, perimenopause.
Right.
You went 11 months and then you got your cycle. Baby, you're not there yet. And it is very, very important to understand for some of you who are listening that you can still get pregnant during perimenopause.
Hello. Mm-hmm.
You can. And not everybody is going to have perimenopause experiences with unpleasant symptoms. Some of them are going to have all of them, some just a few, and some people aren't going to have any. And
Yeah.
the symptoms vary, and the severity of symptoms vary. So, pause there. I don't know fully if I am in perimenopause. I cycles are still very regular.
Mm-hmm.
I have weight gain, but that's also due to other
Mm-hmm.
hormonal issues. And when those hormones got balanced, I was able to drop the weight pretty easily. I do have
Hormones
poor
are a hell
sleep.
of a thing. Whew.
They are.
Mm.
I do have poor sleep, but that was also I have a 6-year-old who does not like to sleep in her own bed. Um, I will say the forgetfulness and the poor concentration. So I was doing research on this, and this woman, she had a Twitter thread, a Threads thread, and she said she thought she was in the early stages of dementia because she could not remember words to
Remember.
things. She would look at she'd be like, "You remember that thing that
This shit is real.
the the hose." Like she would have to struggle to find words. So she was getting
Mm-hmm.
scared. So she was like, I think I'm in the beginning stages of menopause." She went, she went to see a neurologist. They did all the workups. No, no, baby, your brain is fine. I suggest you go see your gynecologist. And she was like, "For what?" And he's like, "Just go. Maybe there's hormonal imbalances." Went,
Mm-hmm.
and sis was fully in perimenopause, okay?
Mm.
Struggling,
Mm.
okay? And
It
they
affects
said,
so
"Oh
many
yeah."
people so differently.
Yeah, they said, "Oh yeah, this is a symptom of what's happening with you." Excuse me? I'm
Right.
sorry?
Right.
Like I am losing the ability to remember words?
That mm, not fun at all.
It's not fun. And, I had to, because of me, I'm dealing with PCOS, I've had to have my levels checked. And my levels are fine, like FSH, LSH, all of that stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
have not done, I don't know if I've had my estrogen checked. I believe I have at some point, but my levels
They
have been
should check
fine.
it. They may not have told you, but it should be part and parcel of all that for when you get
So then
into
I
the
probably
pregnancy.
have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a I would say women have a lot in life. I mean, we
Mm.
get about a good 10 years to be normal. We get 10 years, a good 10 solid years, okay?
Mm.
A
If you listen.
good 10 solid years, if we're lucky, to just be normal. And
Mm.
then, and that's if you are at normal levels.
Which most of us are not, because something is always throwing us off
Yeah.
more often
Because,
than not.
I mean, think about with you, right? You got diagnosed with endometriosis
Yeah.
at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
So it's never been
19.
normal for you.
Nope. I don't even know what, since I had my cycle at 10 until now, and I'm 47, my reproductive health has wreaked havoc on my life on
Mm.
so many levels. So many levels. The perimenopause sucks. I've been in menopause 3 times. Third time is not the charm. 2 previously medically induced. I don't recommend. Like I said in the beginning, 0 stars. Negative 5,000.
so, so then let me ask you, because you're saying you've been in the menopause several times, have you
Hmm.
ever, do you know if you ever just chilled in perimenopause?
Yeah, in my late 30s.
Okay.
Right before, because that's when I was off everything and I had to go when I was trying to figure out if I could get pregnant or not. Or when I went to the
Mhm.
fertility doctor. Um, and they were like, "Well, you have this window, and if you go past this window, looking at your levels, you're tracking for peri."
Mhm.
And when
Mhm.
I got past that space, they said at 37 that after 37 I was no longer able eligible for in vitro of my own egg.
Mm.
I had
Mm.
to use somebody else's eggs once you turn 38 because of where I was going with my peri, where I was entering the perimenopause phase. Because I was on like the IUD for a while, which gives you estrogen and progesterone to kind of keep your
Yeah,
levels
yeah.
fine or whatever. But once I took that out and was in the midst of trying to just figure out if I could try and actually get pregnant, and they came back with all my tests, and they're like, probably not. No, that's looking like a no for you. So for those 37 to about 40 is where I was sitting in peri,
Mm.
um, because I was still trying to figure out where I was going with my hormones and the endo and all that other stuff. If that did I need to have another endo surgery to make this work and stuff like that. So I was in peri for that period of time. But because I've been in menopause for so long, and you know, like Zarifa said, when it's not chemically induced, when it's after 12
Mhm.
months and you haven't had a cycle, right? And your estrogen levels and hormones, and being that I've had adenomyosis, fibroids, and endometriosis, that's a whole ca- uh, cadre of where estrogen and hormones don't want to play nice.
Yeah.
And it's just a pain in the ass, honestly. Like I
Mhm.
cannot, the insomnia, and it's also because like with the insomnia, because I know you all know there were years I was not sleeping. Years
Mhm.
I would be up until 3 in the morning for 2 or 3 days at a drop of a dime, and literally just surviving on 2 to 3 hours of sleep, like
Mm.
consecutively. And this is for years I had insomnia. Now I'm kind of on the other side of that with all the other stuff that I've been through, and I can actually sleep most times. I still have issues, but I also have, the hot flashes, y'all. They suck. The first time I went into menopause was due to medically induced, which is some of the causes, right? Since we all know it's a part of the aging process, but a lot of women go into it because of medical intervention, surgical removal of ovaries, cancer treatments, and chemotherapy or pelvic radiation. For my situation, it was because I was put on a drug called Lupron to help with my endometriosis. Lupron is a drug that is for prostate cancer. It has no business being
Mm.
anywhere around anybody's ovaries, but they're like, oh, it does this. Let's slap it on some ladies, and then they brought it back as Orlissa. And I'm not trying to come for anybody's manufacturers. I'm just saying the side effects that I've experienced have been horrible, and most of my other endo
Right.
folk have had the same type of thing. So that first time was when I was in school and we were pledging, and that shit was horrible. I don't recommend that.
Mhm.
Like being in school, being in college, and you're sitting in class going through menopause, horrible. I had to leave
Mm.
school.
Yeah.
The side
Yeah.
effects were horrible. There's so much stuff that I could not do that I ended up having to leave school behind it because the side effects were so bad. But then because endo was in such a way that the stage 4 was so bad and I was in between multiple surgeries, they put me on it again a year later, but with estrogen. We call that add back therapy. So the menopause was still there. It just wasn't as bad.
Okay.
So, fast forward all those years, I had the IUD, which helped with the progesterone and estrogen management, but it still still had hormonal issues with that regardless. Lack of sleep, the hot sweats, the night sweats, but they didn't get really bad until probably right before when I was going through the whole brain surgery discovery thing where the night
Mhm.
sweats got really bad. Like when I
Mm.
tell you bad, would sleep in my bed and it would be drenched. I would twice a night. I've had to get up and take a shower in the middle of the night. I've had to
Mm.
change my sheets. I've had to get up and put towels down, and I would go back to sleep and the towel would be drenched within 2 hours. And I would have to come back and put down another towel, or I would sleep on the floor. I mean, it was because my bed was just so it would soak through to the mattress topper. And I have one of
Oh,
those, like,
wow.
yeah, mattress toppers that repels water so it wouldn't get into the mattress. So I had to get a mattress topper protector because I was sweating so bad through to the mattress. It was and when I tell you I would get out the shower and and I would dry off 3 minutes later, it was like I just was in the shower. It was horrible. I mean, most of the time, even now, there's a video of me when I got inducted into my Black Door Society. I am literally glistening in my headshot. Like they could see it, my girlfriends could see it from across the room. They're like, "Are you okay?" Like it looked like I just came out the pool, full
Oh, wow,
makeup,
yeah.
full beat
Mhm.
makeup, but and they could see everything that was, with the my shirt was drenched. I usually have to take, at some point I had to take another pair of clothes, another shirt. And there's no reason for me to take a shower at night because I'm sweating through everything. The fatigue, the mental fatigue. And actually I think part of this led to a bit of a delay in me going to look about the brain surgery thing because I was like, or contributed maybe when
Ah,
you,
okay,
yeah,
yes, that
because
makes sense, that makes sense,
right, because I
okay.
was like, "What is going on? Why can't I remember certain things? Why am I irritable because I'm just miserable because I'm always in pain?" Like, there were so many different factors that came into play for me. I didn't know what it was because I had so many other reproductive health things going on, and my
Mhm,
estrogen levels have never really been normal since the
mhm.
beginning of time, it seems. So, it was very daunting that the moodiness, I didn't really have the moodiness so much, but the weight gain excuse me,
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
That
The
is
weight
the
gain.
that is the worst for me because I'm in the middle of it. Because I
Mhm.
guess, like, I do have some of the symptoms, like the sleep, the insomnia, but again,
Mhm.
it's hard to delineate between what is PCOS for me and what is
Yes.
perimenopause, right? Because there
Right.
are a lot of the symptoms kinda mirror each other. Like, I do have the
Mhm.
night sweats. I do have the, weight gain. I do have the memory loss, like the
Yeah, that memory
forgetfulness and the
loss.
memory loss. But a lot of that could just be decision fatigue.
Yes, exactly.
I know I would say it's interesting, just going back to something you said. There are some women now, women are able to have children later in life.
Mhm.
So I had Charlie at 40,
Mhm.
I think, or I got pregnant at 40. I had her at 41.
Mhm.
And if the research is accurate and women start perimenopause at 40, what the hell?
Right.
You're putting your body through a
That
lot.
part. Janet Jackson had a baby at 50.
Yes, but just look at what you could potentially be putting your body through, because now
Yeah.
your hormones are really all over the place, right? And if
Right.
we know you can still get pregnant in perimenopause and your estrogen levels and your and
Mhm.
oh god, I'm just thinking about it, like, all of
It's a
these
lot.
things are just all over the place. I
Mhm.
know now, looking back at it, that I probably was a a psychopath during that time. You know, your estrogen, your progesterone levels probably, like, so out
They
of whack.
affect your mood. It's real. It truly is, and I think there's maybe that's why it's being talked about more
Yeah.
because I'm not bashful. Ever since when I had my brain surgery, they had to cut out part of my pituitary gland, which
Mhm.
automatically put me into menopause. Like
Mm.
woke up, boom, you're in menopause, full blown. And this was more on a more extreme level, I would say, than the other two previous times for me.
Jesus.
Yeah, because it's on a it is such a pain. And when I tell you, I walk around with my little fans and, my shirt gets drenched when I'm going certain places. I was doing an interview the other day and it's just glistening. My skin is glistening because I'm just
Mhm.
sitting here minding my business. And you also add that to the stress of just life, like we talked about last week or the last episode with the midlife crisis. So you
Mhm. Mhm.
combine perimenopause, menopause with the midlife crisis and how we experience it, our mental health. What does that look like? Am I going crazy because I'm moody? I forget shit all the time. I walk into the room and I'm like, why the hell am I in here? And I don't remember. And the whole day you forget. It's like it's just one thing after another after another. And
Yeah.
then you just the hormone thing, it's real. Like I know people always make fun of women and all your PMS and your hormone. That that shit is real. You really
I mean,
sometimes
it
think you're going
is.
crazy. Like you're like,
It is.
is it just me or what? What's going
But
on here?
I'm gonna tell you a funny anecdote. So I had a conversation with one of my friends last night who just finalized her divorce, and we were talking about a lot of this, the perimenopause and menopause. And she's like, I thought I was going through menopause. Turns out I just was sick of my husband.
So
But
she
I
about to
mean,
turn over a new leaf and be good, right? All kind
listen,
of right.
but
Oh
what's
my
weird?
god.
It's funny that these things happen because I've also read for some women, they get more positive symptoms from going through menopause. Like I've heard some women's libido actually increase
Yeah,
during menopause because their hormones went the opposite way.
I will
Um,
say that you get that little fire. I will say that you get a little more frisky, or
yeah, I've heard
you
that
feel
for
more
some women.
frisky for some women for sure.
For some women, I've heard
Which
that's
is how I think is the creation of cougars.
yeah. Well,
You
there
ever
you
think
go.
about that? With the cougars, that's where the
That
cougar thing
probably
come in.
is. That probably is where the
Mhm.
cougars come in. I've heard some women they have that their skin just got so much better during menopause.
Mhm.
I've heard women had the opposite of vaginal dryness. Like I've read a lot of things where for some women it wasn't that bad, or for some women it was like I didn't even know I was in menopause. Like I
Yeah.
didn't experience any of these things, and then my period just stopped, and my doctor was like, "Oh, you're in menopause," and they were like, "Oh, okay." And I guess I'm supposed to experience all these things, and she's like, she was waiting for the hot flashes. She was waiting for all
Mhm.
these things that women told her would come
Mm.
from being in menopause, and she
Right.
experienced none of that. And she kept going back to the doctor, like, is there something wrong with me? Because I'm being told that I should have all of these negative,
Mhm.
unpleasant experiences and symptoms, and I'm not having any of those.
Right. It's
Um,
horrible. I
it
mean,
is
it's not the
horrible.
end of the world, but it affects your life in such a way, and I'm so glad that people are talking about it now. I'm not bashful when people ask me, and I'm like, we'll sit there and chit chat about something. I'm like, oh, I'm just having a personal summer. And I'll say,
Mhm.
we don't talk about it enough. And I was serious about becoming a menopause educator. Like there's this program that I'm looking at now because it's part of our health that we don't talk about from the
Mhm.
beginning of birth, and all those periods and the whole continuum of care that we have to do for ourselves on top of the stresses that we
Mhm.
already face as women and what
Mhm.
is already shouldered on us to run, to handle, to be in charge of, to remember. It's not a surprise that we forget stuff. Honestly, like people, I would say those in our lives expect us. We're always more often than not, we as women are the cornerstones of our family. Be it whether you
Mhm.
have a traditional household or not, we are still the ones who keep the household together, which means we are tasked to remember everything all the time,
Right.
no matter what. And there's
Mhm.
not a time or a space for grace or a pause. There is no pause in menopause for us to just be because there's
Yeah.
always something happening.
There
Always.
is always something happening. And you know what? It's funny that you say that because even when I was looking on you break it down even more, when it comes to like race, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
women in general are going through this, but like I found during my like research that there was like black women who experienced m- more hot flashes, which is
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Like, why would they have more hot flashes? Um, and it's like a socioeconomic aspect to
Stressor.
this. Um,
Mhm.
there's a lot, yes, because we tend to have, like they said, during menopause, Black women tend to experience more depression. Um,
Mhm.
because there's a financial strain. You may not have the most um, fruitful of medical insurance, right?
Mhm.
We tend to just I feel like Black women tend to not be believed a lot of the times when we come
That
um,
part.
to the doctor to say we're having certain things. So there's definitely like health
Mhm.
inequities there that put us in a higher category of not really having our menopause dealt with effectively. And I mean, because you can
Mhm.
get hormone treatments and the like, but if you don't have insurance, if you're not in a position to do that, then you're struggling out
Right.
here trying to make it through this particular period that can we've learned can last years, right? Um,
Yeah.
there are some things that you can do, but to kind of minimize the symptoms, but a lot of us already don't do these things. So it's like, okay, for example, if you have a higher body mass index, right, your symptoms are probably going to be worse. But if you're an associate, if you have some socioeconomic disparities, you're not eating healthier. You know what I mean? You don't
Mm-hmm.
have access to more organic, natural foods, right?
Right.
You are getting what you can. And so you may have a higher body mass, but then your hormones are also jacking up your weight. So how can you balance the two? You see what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
If you smoke cigarettes, yes, if you're probably in a more stressful environment, you probably are going to be more likely to smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol, and those two things are going to exacerbate your symptoms. Which I mean,
Alcohol can be a trigger too, by the way.
it can be, it
Yeah, it
absolutely can
totally
be.
can be. And like
Um,
you said, we don't talk our grandmothers and
mm-mm,
mothers. It's not something that has ever, or aunties.
mm-hmm.
You don't talk about it.
They don't talk about it. They don't. Um, you know, Unfortunately, there are other conditions that can worsen or add to a person's symptoms, like uterine
Hmm.
fibroids. Well, we know
Yep,
Black women tend to have more fibroids than
that we
their
do.
counterparts.
Yep.
Um, and it's a shame because like when I was looking at this, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna be all jacked up. I have adenomyosis, I have fibroids, I have
Hmm.
cystic ovaries, I have
Hmm.
PCOS. I was like, what else? What, what else you want to throw at me at this point to just make me realize that I'm going to go through a a period of just like hell.
Right. When that period and that
um,
menopause hits you, it's just, can you get a break? You hope you can get a break.
it can
But there
right.
are things
And
that can help.
there are some things. And trying to maintain a healthy BMI, trying to get regular exercise, trying to eat a balanced diet, trying to reduce stress, to avoid some hot flashes, like avoid caffeine, alcohol, or spicy foods.
Hmm. Caffeine for
But
sure.
that's right. But what I'm saying is a catch-all for everything, right? They tell you to do these things for
Always.
everything.
Hmm.
But I'm just gonna digress for 2 seconds. It's still relevant, but I had blood work done recently. So my doctor had me come back in and she says, okay, for this particular issue right here, I don't want you to eat meat. But if you do eat meat, try to get the most organic meat you can find. Like if you got to go to Whole Foods or if
Hmm.
you go to Mom's, get organic. She said, because the hormones that they're putting in food is going to keep you from being
Yes.
able to get any weight off. It's just going to add to whatever issues
Yeah.
that you are currently experiencing. Okay. Um,
Hmm.
and I was like, wow, I didn't even think about that, right? We know that this country is killing us with food, right? Because you can go to
Yes.
another country and it's definitely not like this.
Not
I've
even. Food
talked
can
to
be medicine,
multiple
but not
people,
here.
not here, it definitely is not.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's the first that's the one thing. And the other thing I wanted to go back to is when you were talking about they gave you medicine to combat this issue and the medicine was specifically geared for prostate cancer. There was a medication that my doctor was trying to get me on, and the medication they won't give it to me because I'm not categorized as this, right?
Hmm.
And it would help with the symptoms. So she was trying to give
Hmm.
me a medication. They say I only give you this give we only prescribe this was the insurance company said we're only going to give you this medication if you are type 2 diabetic. And I was like, okay, so what if somebody becomes a type 1 diabetic? What do you give them? Because you're telling me that this is only for type 2 diabetics. Yes, there's another set of medications that we give to type 1 diabetics. So I'm like, this is, but that this can help with PCOS, but you don't want to give it to people for PCOS because that's not what its intended use is. Okay.
Hmm.
Then there was another medication she was trying to give me, and they said, oh, you have to be obese, you have to be more than obese to have this medication, right? And I'm
Hmm.
making fun of it because I'm not obese, but if you get to a certain BMI, they say this is
Hmm.
obesity. And she says, well,
Well,
if
you
you
got to
lose
think
this
about
much
the
weight,
origin of that too. That wasn't
well,
that's
that's
only
not
for a
for us,
right.
right?
Exactly.
And she said, well, if you lose this much weight, you'll be in the overweight category. I was like, great, thank you. So I'll go from obese to overweight.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
But so they were like, "Oh yeah, you're not going to be able to get this medication because even if your BMI says you're obese, you have to have another issue, even though the medication is supposed to help you lose weight." You have to have another issue in addition to obesity to get this medication. And I sat there and I thought about it when you said this stuff for prostate cancer. They use it for prostate
Mm-hmm.
cancer. The system is set up to not help you
No,
get
but
well.
you,
Is
it,
help. It is set
there's
up to
more
just
money in the treatment than the
maintain,
cure.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to go a more holistic, natural route to kind of deal with all of the issues that I'm dealing with. I have like nodules on my thyroid, like it's just a whole bunch of it's like a shitstorm of things going on at the same time. And so I've been doing my research and thinking about the supplements and the minerals and things
Mm-hmm.
to kind of help balance a lot of these things. And I'm going here to say, and this could probably even turn into the last sip, um, is that, if you don't want to go the medication route or get hormone therapy, because the stuff is expensive. This is not
It is.
cheap, right? These
And
aren't
it is
cheap
not
treatments.
covered. Oftentimes, it is not covered by your insurance, the holistic
Insurance,
stuff at all,
right?
which is probably better
Um,
for you anyway. But the insurance companies
right.
won't make any money off of it.
Not right. These treatments, these medical based backed treatments aren't always affordable to everyone. And, I'm 47. I said to myself, I really need to just take stock. And I think everybody does this at this point. I don't want to be a 60-year-old because 60 is still young. And my daughter will be in her 20s. I'm trying to hang. I'm trying to travel with her. I'm trying to be in a position where she's trying to keep up with me. I ain't trying to keep up with her. You understand what I'm saying?
Right? Hello.
And so I think it's important for all women, and I'm speaking to women specifically. Yes, men need to do things, but women specifically, my sisters, to really take stock and hold of your health and
Please.
try to manage a lot of these things. Like, menopause is not a death sentence. It definitely is something that we're
Mm-mm.
all going to have to experience in some way or the other. And some of us may be very lucky and have the
Mm-hmm.
most minimal of symptoms. And some of us are going to go through hell. And I just want us to do some research, try to find more holistic, natural ways of trying to manage these things, whether it is like not eating meat for a while or, taking that extra 30-minute walk or parking a little
Mm-hmm.
further when you go to the mall so that you can get some extra steps in or, you
Just
know,
a little bit a day.
yeah, or
Just a
communicate.
little
Like,
bit a day.
and I feel like with this topic specifically, because it's been so taboo, have the conversations with your girlfriends. You know what I mean? Like sit around and talk about things that have helped you, things that you use that have been beneficial to work through a lot of these symptoms. If you haven't heard of perimenopause and this is your first time listening to it, hearing about it, do some research because maybe the things that you've been experiencing, maybe you thought, oh yeah, something's really wrong with me. Maybe I'm going through dementia or maybe I have this and I have that. And it could just literally be your hormones are not hormoning and you are going through a period of menopause. And don't look at menopause as I feel like some women previous generations looked at menopause as the end of womanhood as we know it. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
now I'm not like fully feminine and in my feminine energy because I've lost all of this.
Yeah,
Girl,
no, that's a
bye.
boo. Mm-hmm. That don't mean nothing, y'all. Trust and believe me on
Don't
that.
think that way. Do some, more research on the all of the symptoms because we've just listed a few.
Yeah.
You could get UTIs, you could have heart palpitations. So you might be thinking you're
Mm-hmm.
having a heart attack and
That is
all it is
true.
really
There's some women that have
menopause.
gone through that, and it's because the mood swings and how you may get upset a lot quicker may cause you to have heart palpitations. So you may think something else is going on when it's not, or it's angina,
Mhm.
or it's I don't know, um, reflux, acid reflux, all of those things. But I would say it is so important. I started working out a couple months ago with my son. He's my trainer now, and we get up in the morning and we work out at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then I'm slowly adding in my yoga, my yin yoga, and stuff like that, so I can and my walks slowly and gradually because I've had to drop this weight that I gained during all of
Mhm.
these surgeries and things on top of the menopause, on top of your joints, on top, and then you got to think about the osteoporosis and all those other things. Like there's so many things that we have to contend with as women as we
Mhm.
have the privilege of getting older. Um, And then you may be stressing because you found some gray hairs. I just
Mhm.
found three on my forehead. I was so excited. I was like, yes, I made it to get gray hairs. And I know some women are like, I can't believe, but my hair I wear is platinum, so I don't really care if it's gray. So I'm good with that. But I know for some women that is life changing, and it can be
Mhm.
amplified by whatever mood swing you may be having due to menopause, because those certain things, or the fine lines, or the wrinkles. And the media does not help us because it keeps telling us we need to look a certain way. It does not celebrate women that have reached a certain age, unfortunately, as we
Mhm.
mature. It's very few. I mean, there's a couple ad campaigns that are celebrating mature women and how we look. And I know Bobby Bobby Brown just put out a new line for all age groups to help, not necessarily hide, but enhance your mature look. I can't remember what it's called,
Mhm.
but that
Mhm.
she's embracing that, and she's speaking to that point where we as women are always being told that, we need a hyaluronic, I know that's not the right word I'm saying, acid, and that's great for self-care, but it also causes us to pause and think, well, we're not cute enough, we're not pretty enough. And then you add that to having your hot flashes, which reminds you of your age, that some women, it can put us in a spiral and kind of lead to
Mhm.
depression, lead to anxiety. It's a trigger. Menopause itself can be a trigger to so many other things. We need to keep our wits about us, do the due diligence and do some research, talk to our healthcare providers, make sure we're on track with getting what we need. If there's holistic things like black cohosh, blue sage, those are some holistic things that have helped many other women. Didn't really help with me, but have helped other women get through this point in time. Sleep is so imperative. If you can get some sleep, go for it. If you can take a nap, I have
Yep.
discovered naps again since I've been in kindergarten. I've never had been able to
Yep.
nap over the past 30 plus years, and now I do. So just give yourself grace as you're going through it. Try not to feed into everything that you see on TV, which is always telling us that we're not good enough. We got wrinkles, we got this, we got that. And I realize some of us are going through that, but also aging gracefully and stepping into this can be a beautiful thing. It just be hot in here sometimes. It just be hot,
Mhm.
and
Just be
and
hot in
mm,
here.
it just be
And
hot.
understand, yes, and I'll leave with this. Understand that this is just a transition. It's not the end of life as you know it. Some
Exactly.
people it's a welcoming transition. And I
Mhm.
just say, like, again, we didn't give you the full list of symptoms, but there are a lot of things that
Mhm.
can be attributed to perimenopause and menopause. So please, I would say, do your research to make sure that the symptoms you are feeling are that and not something else. And
Mhm.
understand that this can also lead us to have higher risks of, like you said, osteos
Osteoporosis.
I'm about to say osteospermanti. You know what I'm trying to say.
Monty. Y'all know what that is, y'all. Old school folk, y'all know what that is.
Depression, anxiety, but we're here. We're going to get through it. Understand that it's not going to be and last forever. Hopefully, you have a supportive partner that can be very empathetic with you during this time and understand that it's not you, it's the hormones. And hopefully, you have a good tribe around you that you can talk through these things with. You have a good PCP and a good gynae on
Mhm.
hand to kind of walk you through this. And if you're on this journey now, I wish you blessings and cold, not hot sweats, but cold nights. And
Oh, yes. But them cold sweats are real. You got to watch that too. Like I will say, because I was having hot flashes in the chills that came right after it because I was drenched, I missed a lot of things that I ended up in the hospital for. And I will say
mm-hmm,
this. Um, when I was going through still going through my kidney situation from my botched hysterectomy, because my menopause symptoms were so severe and I was having chills and hot flashes I didn't know if I had a fever or if I was what was going on with me. And a fever, of course, you'd be really hot and then you have chills and all that other stuff and your temperature's all over the
mm-hmm,
place. And because I dismissed it, when I realized it was time, I said something else is wrong. By the time I got to the emergency room, they're like, "You are septic and you about to die." This has happened 3 times. You are about to die. Had you not come in here at the time that you did, you would be dead. And they asked me, they're like, "Why did you wait so long?" And I was like, "I thought it was my menopause." So you really need to do um your due diligence. And they were like,
yep,
"What are you talking about?" And I told them my symptoms and they were like, "Oh, I can see why you thought that." But it almost
mm-hmm,
killed me So I
Mhm.
really just urge you to make sure you're doing your research and being mindful of your health and don't dismiss it. It
Yeah.
happens, it's part of life, enjoy it, embrace it, but, be mindful. Be mindful.
Yep.
So, with that, did you do your last tip? I think she kind of wrapped that up there.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, so, we're not going to take a break. We're just going to clear this out. We're
Yeah.
going to wrap it up. So thank you for joining us this week on Sipping Tea with Nat and Z. As you know, you can follow us on Instagram on Sipping Tea Nat and Z _pod and on Facebook at Sipping Tea Nat and Z. And to get information on our podcast topics, guests, and news, and reminders that Z puts out, which are great. Thanks for listening, and catch us on our next episode where we talk about our inner child.
I don't know yet. No,
We could
not that.
change it up.
I don't know
I
what we're
don't think
talking
it's
about
that.
next time.
I'm like, is that thought we did that one already?
No.
Y'all,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a surprise, y'all. It's gonna be a surprise. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.